Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Kev on location. We thought we'd cram a little Ipswich preview in for you on the fly, as it is Valentine's Day. So we've got to do our duties and talk about Aston Villa on Valentine's Day. That is our main love, of course. So hopefully we get the 3 points tomorrow, and as I say, previewing Aston Villa versus Ipswich, and a busy old time for Aston Villa coming up in the next few weeks. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. We are literally 5 away from 5,300 on the road to 6K. So help us get there. Like, subscribe, and get your comments in, your thoughts on tomorrow's game, i.e., Saturday's game. What do you think the score's going to be? Who's going to play? We're going to go through all that. Kev, like I say, on location in a mysterious place. How you doing, mate?
All good, mate. Apologies for any background noise. I'll try and keep my chat to a minimum, which is hard for me. I thought you'd be with your dear wife tonight, like wining and dining her. Surely not. It's if it's a single man like me, I've got no excuse to be working / doing podcasts. But man like you, happily married, like I thought you'd be like restaurant, nice corner table, somewhere, bottle of wine. Right, you'd rather chat to me instead. I love that. That makes me feel good about myself, mate.
I think it's the other way around, Matt. I think my wife would prefer me speaking to you than
Brilliant.
speaking to her. But
Yeah,
we've got an Indian takeaway waiting for us, so we're going to enjoy that in a minute. Watch a movie. So that's why we jump.
brilliant,
That's why we got to jump in and get this
brilliant.
preview done for everyone.
Well,
So yeah,
it's a
don't
different
worry.
kind of love, isn't it? It's a different kind of love. This isn't it? Different kind of love.
Exactly,
Platonic,
exactly.
platonic.
Exactly. So let's talk about Aston Villa versus Ipswich. Feels like it's been a long while since we've played Premier League, and I kind of almost want to forget the last Premier League game we had, Wolves away, which was a performance to actually forget. But then the positivity of last Sunday's home performance in the FA Cup, fourth round, qualifying for the fifth round, then getting Cardiff, which is a massive chance for us to get through to the quarterfinals. Feels like Villa are on a bit of a positivity rise at the moment.
Yeah, it really does. It says a lot about the club that you can have a situation of obviously losing so badly in such an abject performance against Wolves, and yet it's the last game as well we played in the league, and yet it's almost totally forgotten about
Mm.
because here we are in the middle of February, and we are still fighting on three fronts. To finish in the top five positions. Maybe top seven if you still want to get like decent European campaign next year. Obviously FA Cup and Champions League, and to be in that situation is just staggeringly new territory for so many Aston Villa fans. It really is. So it just goes to show you can lose a game. And we've had bad results this season. We've lost games we shouldn't have lost. We've had poor performances. We've let the leads slip. And yet here we are, only a couple of wins off the top four, top five positions, and still fighting in a couple of cup competitions. And it just says a lot, really. And of course, the transfers that come in, some of the injury returns we can talk about shortly, and obviously, still being in the cup. I mean, I genuinely didn't know that the cup was something that went beyond the third round. Um, so yeah, I don't know what's happening, and I thought I was a season ticket holder for years. I never saw a home cup match. I maybe saw one or two. I remember seeing like Liverpool maybe in the League Carabao Cup, and we played Wolves, didn't we, as well? And there was
Yeah,
obviously the Leicester one we got to the semi. Well, it was very seldom did we play it. We've had three in a row
I know.
in the FA Cup. So yeah, absolutely crazy times. But we're alive and we've got stuff to fight for. And with the additions to the squad, it just means that it should be a pretty exciting last few months of the season.
Well, this is it. And before we get into kind of predicting the lineup, and we'll talk Ipswich as well. In general, though, coming into this game, Unai Emery's got not selection headaches, but he's got quite a few options, albeit we've still got one or two players out, and the players should be absolutely chomping at the bit now to go Ipswich, get 3 points. Then we go Liverpool, then we go Chelsea. There's a real opportunity to get some momentum and for players to really stake the claim to be in this running.
Yeah, I mean, this is it now. Competition for positions, a healthy headache, as it's often called. And look, you'd rather that than be in a situation where you've got, look at the weekend. Obviously, we had no centre halves after not much of the game happened, and obviously contract to come off. Well, to have Disassi available now, hopefully Mings is back in the squad. Might be available soon. You've got these situations now where players have got to play, because if you are, for example, those two, and you play really well, and you keep 2 or 3 clean sheets, then Pau Torres and Konza might amazingly have trouble getting back in the team. And it's the same for the other players. We spoke about it on the last pod, but Ramsey, Bailey, they got to perform. They got to perform
Mm.
because they know they've got a couple of top class operators waiting in the wings to come on, who both had sparkling cameos when they came obviously against Spurs. So it's really good. But everywhere else, competition in midfield. Barkley will be back soon, and Arno's going to want to get back in the team, I'm sure.
Mm.
And McGinn's obviously had a good performance. He needs to keep that going, otherwise he will. That sentiment won't get him too far. The only one that's really probably guaranteed is Watkins, really, if he's fit.
Yeah, yeah, but then Marlon was pretty sharp up top the other day,
He was,
and can
yeah.
certainly fill in there. And Rashford can obviously play there, probably not his preferred position, but certainly can play there. How do you think Emery balances this up? Because I know he's talked in his press conference, and I know Villa sort of failed in an appeal to the Premier League to move the fixture for Liverpool. I don't think that was ever going to happen, to be honest. They'd already earmarked this date. But how do you think he's going to balance it up? Because you're talking, like I said, Ipswich, then you took then Liverpool, then Chelsea, then Palace, then Cardiff, and then you're into the Champions League game. So there's a hell of a lot of games there in quick succession. And I'm not one for players whinging about games, because I think if you get on a good run, you just want to play the next game, the next game, the next game as a player. So I'm not too kind of fussed in terms of the tiredness, but obviously Emery's put it out there. So how do you think he manages that?
Well, listen, this is where we want to be. You want to be in a
Mm,
situation where you've got multiple games. There's been plenty of seasons in recent years when it's only been, which position between, I don't know, 17th and 11th are you going to finish, over the years. And even that was even in the championship at times, wasn't it? So
yeah.
um, it's a fantastic position to be in. And of course, we could have had a couple of extra games in terms of um, Champions League playoff matches to play if obviously we're not finished in the top 8. So that would have put even more pressure on this squad. I think you will see some tactical rotation, and you will see players getting opportunities to stake a claim. But it's also bigger than this season, really, because as we've talked about in the last couple of years, the trajectory of the club recently is we want to be in Europe every year. We want to be competing for trophies. If you don't perform and given an opportunity, there's no surprise why there's been a lot of talk around Bailey in terms of transfers, and I think some of those links were definitely solid in terms of him transferring out away from the club. Or you wouldn't have thought that would be likely a year ago based on how good he was. So if you don't perform under Unai, you won't get opportunities. I mean, Buendia was really, really good, got injured, came back, and now he's been moved on, and it's going to happen to players. I think there was an issue with Duran. The money was brilliant, but I think there was always something maybe he wasn't sure about with Duran, and the deal was so good he took the cash because it means you can reinvest.
Mm.
So you got to produce the goods, and I do expect to see some rotations, particularly if there's been a couple of injury niggles. And but this is the great thing about where we're at as a club now. I mean, that second 11. If you think about what everyone's ideal first 11 would be, there'd be some debate, right? But let's just say, for the argument's sake, you're going to put Asensio and Rashford in that because of the caliber. If everyone's at top level, well, behind that, then you've got Bailey, Ramsey, Marlon. Let's say you have a midfield of Kamara, Tielemans, and McGinn. Well, behind that, you've got Barkley, Anana. I probably missed someone else out now in that area somewhere.
It's
Um, it-
Bohard as well,
but you could
who's
have
coming
Board
through.
playing centre mid. Yeah, you could have Matson instead of Digne. You could have Mings and Disassi instead of Konza and who's the other fellow who plays
Pau
for us?
Torres.
Pau Torres. That's it. That amazing left-sided centre back, and then obviously then Garcia for Cash. I mean, that is a
Yeah.
really really
And
solid team.
Olsen for Martinez.
I was going to put Olsen on the actually left back, to be fair. But I mean, that is a team that would probably would probably finish, wouldn't be in relegation trouble in the Premier League.
Mm.
So there is. the depth, and Unai's talked about that in his recent conference. He said the team was last season that we were all disappointed how we sort of faded a bit and we just got over the line. A lot of players that were very, very tired. He's got the luxury now of being able to use some of these players. So it's on them now to produce the goods. But I was thinking as well, if you look at the game at the weekend, obviously look at the match against Tottenham. A lot of those players were fairly new to Villa, weren't they? Really, if you think about it,
Mm,
you think about what the team's been in the last couple of years, and then you look at that team on Sunday. Was it Sunday we played them?
yeah,
Kamara obviously playing centre half with Bogard. You've obviously got Rogers had only been in the team a year. Ramsey's been out a lot. Marlon, obviously Matson came on. Bogard, Asensio, Rashford. You,
Garcia.
yeah, Garcia. You've probably got 7, 8 players there who are playing. It's almost like a new look Aston Villa team, and yet still getting that kind of result. So, yeah, it's a big opportunity. But I back Unai to do what he does, which is usually get it right.
Yeah, well, I think this is what he wanted. This is what he spotted last season, and we, as much as we don't want to admit, we kind of limped over the line. Got a couple of big results that really showed, really pushed us over. But a lot of the games we were kind of running on empty. So he saw that, and this is the time period now, this February, March, April, May, where, like you say, even if we have got one or two injuries or we're nursing a couple of players back, we've got quite a few options now to utilise. So this is where it comes into play, which hopefully we can last the season, and maybe one or two sides do falter, the likes of Nottingham Forest, or one or two others, maybe Newcastle, maybe take their eyes slightly off the ball with the Carabao Cup final, and still in the FA Cup, one or two other teams. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully, Villa can come through and Ghostin at the far post and seal a Champions League spot from the league position, let alone winning the competition, which would be amazing as well. But let's talk about Saturday's game. Obviously, Ipswich coming up. Been a bit of a funny team, Ipswich, because they've had one or two good results. I mean, obviously for them, going to Tottenham and winning would be a massive result for them, and they did a good job against us at Portman Road, but still that kind of naivety, which I guess you can expect from a Champions League Championship club coming into the Premier League. But yeah, what have you made of Ipswich, and what do you think? What type of challenge do you think they'll pose to Villa?
Well, they've had some good moments for sure. I think they've
Mm,
surprised a few people in terms of how they've played. Certainly some standout players. I mean, I went to the Ipswich away game. One experience that was took my lad. He
mm,
was absolutely buzzing. Proper old stadium. Reminded me a little bit of Goodison Park actually, in terms of like a proper club. Proper history and all that. But on that day, Delap was great. Hutchinson was great. Some good players, but they've just not got enough points, have they? They just don't seem to get
no.
enough over the line. And if you look at them and look at sort of where they're at in the table, I think they're second bottom, only 3 wins, 14 defeats. I think they lost the last four. And actually, that's what another one. It sort of frames it perfectly. That sense of I said earlier about frustrating results. You go away to Ipswich, you want to finish top five, top
Yeah,
four. You've got to be winning those games.
got to
But
be
yet they
winning.
did play really well. And Diego Carlos had one of his days where he thought, I'm not playing Bayern or Arsenal, so I can just sort of take my foot off the gas a little bit, seemingly. And we didn't really look like winning it, really, once it went to 2-2. So I think it's time for revenge. We've got some points to be making up to people ahead of us. We've got some goals to be making up. This has to be one of those scenarios where it's a big opportunity. But I'm sure Kieran McKenna and his team will be mindful of that, and they won't want to be the whipping boys. It's a really interesting 10 days actually when you look at it, because you've got um, 4 matches in the Premier League. Obviously, we've got
Mm,
Ipswich, we've got Liverpool Wednesday night, then Chelsea on the Saturday, and then Palace on the Tuesday away. And I think if we've got designs to finish, I think we've got to be getting at least 8 points from that. For me, I think a couple of wins, a couple of draws. I really feel like he's got maybe even 10. I think Liverpool are
yeah, I
every
think
time
3 out of 4 wins. Yeah,
every
three
time we're
wins
going to
out of
yeah
four.
8 to 10 points. Yeah, I think every time we're going to beat Liverpool now is it. Um, and if we've got designs on it, we've really got to start to do a job. But we've got to focus on that first game. Obviously, coming up now, the consistency's been better since the turn of the year. We know that there's been a couple of iffy results, but generally it's been better. Monaco, obviously Wolves, but generally we've had some good wins. This is where it starts now. But I think it's time for a statement win. We've
Mm,
not really had a convincing win by a few goals this season, other than maybe Young Boys in that first Champions League game. And I think really, if you're an Arsenal, you're a You're a Man City when they're doing well. You're a Liverpool. You're beating a team that you should be beating. At least one of those relegated teams is getting beaten by 3 or 4 convincingly, no goals conceded.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully this weekend.
yeah, 100%. So there's a few new signings for Ipswich, and obviously a couple of danger men. Liam Delap is dangerous. Amari Hutchinson's dangerous, and then in terms of kind of recent signings, and Ciso from Brighton, and obviously Jaden Philogene, who came from Aston Villa. So he'll certainly be wanting to potentially get one over on us. But anything else anything to really worry about? I mean, Delap's done very well this season, but we should at home, particularly at home, have enough to kind of to kind of do away with their threats, really, shouldn't we?
We should really, yeah. I mean, I think they've got some handy players on their day. Smodic, however you say his name, Sammy Smodic can find the net if he,
I
But
think he's injured, mate. He's injured.
oh, easy, well, okay,
So they've got Smodic injured, Walton injured, Ogbeni injured, Chaplin potentially injured, and then Wes Burns injured. So
okay,
they've got a
okay.
fair few injuries. And Ciso's always done well for Brighton, but he never really came through this season. They've got their goalkeeper set up as Murich, but and he is likely to drop a clanger as well at times. I don't know if he's even been playing the last few games, but it's goals. I mean, we've talked about goals conceded, but some of the mistakes, the naivety at the back for Ipswich has been mad.
Yeah, I know. I tell you who is a good player for them though. Who I think's got some real talent is Jack Clark.
Yeah,
Um, he was actually really really good when we played him away earlier in the season. Him, Hutchinson, Delap, they caused us some problems. So they've got some quality in that team. If they can get the ball, but I'd expect us to have quite a bit of possession. It's just the issue for us this season. Obviously, we've said it time and time again is we're conceding stupid goals, and I actually also think we've been a bit unlucky because it's not often that a team's first shot on target goes in. There's probably again a combination of factors between Martinez maybe not being quite at his levels he should be, and we're gifting probably better XG chances to teams and good finishing. And then you
mm,
put those three things together, it can be an anomaly. If you get over 50% threshold in all of those three areas, you can all of a sudden have a bit of a crazy stat. And on top of that, we just aren't finishing our chances. We said on the last pod, but Jacob Ramsey should have scored about 28 against Spurs, really. And you know, you keep missing these chances, keep missing these chances. It hasn't hurt us incredibly this season. We're still fighting, but we've got to stop getting some of those over the line. And it's the likes of a Watkins, it's the likes of obviously a Rogers, it's the likes of obviously a Ramsey. These kind of players need to be doing it. I'd be expecting Rashford and Asensio to be chipping in with some goals as well. Could do with a few more from midfield. You know,
McGinn,
McGinn,
Tielemans.
Tielemans, absolutely. Actually, the top scoring midfielders are Onana and Barkley. Barkley doesn't start, and Onana who's never fit. So,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, Ramsey started to score a few more, which is good. Like to see McGinn have a few more shots, and Tielemans is certainly having some shots at the minute. Not necessarily getting them on target, but we need to see him. Obviously, Leon Bailey when he plays, like it would be great to see Marlon get off the mark as well. So as well as Rashford and Asensio, so lots of weapons, lots and lots of players that can score goals. So hopefully they do, and it's a convincing win. On to Villa. We just talked about those options there. We've got Watkins potentially fit for Saturday. Tyrone Mings potentially fit as well for Saturday. The others still injured. I think Barkley, Onana, Cash, Torres still injured. But that's a big boost, isn't it? And to have Dasasi as well to call upon, actually having two centre backs and maybe even more importantly, Kamara going back into that midfield is huge.
oh, I'm really, really buzzing about that more than anything else in the world. Kamara with me is now number one in terms of priority for this club, both in terms of contract but in terms of player. If you've got a back five of Martinez, let's say it's Digne, Mings, Disassi, Garcia. Obviously, if Cash is injured, I'm really happy with that. That's really
Mm,
solid. That's not getting bullied by Liam Delap. Definitely not. Definitely not. And then Boubacar Kamara ahead of it. That's a really really real quality outfit. Um, it's exciting also because then key core positions. If Watkins is in there, he gives you so much. Kamara's in there where he should be. Mings in his assy. That's the spine of your team. That's the spine of
Mm.
your team sorted out by a rejig of position for Kamara, by Disasi's availability, Mings' return to fitness, and Watkins coming back as well. And that just really means that in those wider areas, look at the potential we've got. Garcia looked really good, didn't he, in terms of his performance against Spurs? Obviously, a bit of a chased an experience against Wolves in the first half the week before, his Premier League debut. We know Dina and Matson can cause some damage down the left, and then you've got your Marlons, maybe your Ramseys, your Baileys, your Rashfords, your 3 times Champions League winner in Marco Asensio. You've got some real good weapons there. It's a far cry from obviously earlier in the season when we were really struggling. We were having to bring on a largely ineffective Buendia, Philogene. Hopefully, doesn't come back to haunt us, but not doing too much. Bailey's performance wasn't there, and really it was reliant on Morgan Rogers, and then
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
moments of magic from John Duran, really, and the odd finish from Watkins. Now I feel like we are really exciting and a real potent force attacking wise.
Yeah, and obviously, if Watkins is fully fit, you expect him to come in at up front, and him having that security of being able to, I would say, play at least sort of 75, 80 minutes as opposed to coming off at 60 minutes, really gives him the opportunity to do what he does best, which is run those defenders ragged and show his fitness and his fitness endurance towards the end of the game when the spaces start to open up more, and that's where he comes into his own, doesn't he? But in terms of that attacking, those attacking positions, what would you do? Like now, you're Unai Emery. Who would you play? Like assuming Watkins is the number one striker, who would you play up front or
Well,
in and around him? Sorry.
I'm going to be Unai Emery for a second. I'm going to do my. Does he start to stroke his
Well,
face, doesn't he?
good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to the supporters. It's a real quandary, mate. You shouldn't be asking questions like that on a medium where people have to
Well,
talk.
let's get the comments. What would you do? What would you play in terms of your front four or five? What would you do?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. Are we basing it on fitness or availability, or I'm just
Whatever,
mindful.
whatever. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's numerous games, so he's got options, hasn't he?
All right,
He could pick the team with with Liverpool on Wednesday in mind, albeit you've got a good 4 or 5 days to rest. So
all right, okay. I'm gonna say if I think Liverpool's gonna be Watkins,
4 days.
Rogers, yeah, Watkins, Rogers, Asensio, Ramsey. That's what I'm gonna say for Liverpool. I'm gonna say Watkins, Rogers, Bailey, Ramsey for Ipswich. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna put Bailey in for,
So
and I'm gonna leave it.
Watkins up top, Bailey on the right, Rogers, Ramsey behind.
Yeah, Rogers behind, Ramsey on the left.
Yeah,
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 and
yeah,
then your midfield two's Kamara and Tielemans or
yeah,
Kamara
yeah.
and McGinn.
Kamara and Tillemans. Yeah.
So McGinn's benched.
McGinn's bench. This is the way it goes. This is the way it goes.
So
And I'm bringing McGinn back in for Liverpool at home.
Liverpool. You got McGinn, Asensio, Marlon, Rashford on the bench.
Yeah, it's pinch me, mate. I've seen stuff on X lately of like Daddy Drinkwater starting like a few years ago, and like
Borja
Ali's
Baston.
Borja Baston. Yeah, he got 6 minutes in one game, didn't he? Yeah, but what would you do?
I know. But I think I think Marlon might start. I think
Yeah,
Marlon might start behind. I think
or maybe rest Watkins for Liverpool, bring him on for 20 minutes, maybe.
yeah. I
See
think
Marlon.
maybe Marlon up top. I know I said before about Watkins probably getting the shirt, but yeah, Marlon maybe starts with Bailey on the right, and he may go with that same front four that started against Tottenham. I know it's a
Mm,
bit boring, but he might even do that.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
agree.
he probably is McGinn that misses out, because then you've got Kamara back into midfield with Tielemans.
Yeah,
And
it's
I've
crazy,
got a
isn't it?
feeling that he'll want to move the ball still quite quickly. But McGinn was fantastic, wasn't it? But like you say, the night game, Liverpool, you kind of feel that McGinn's it's made for him to be fresh and firing for that game. Uh, but no, knowing that Emery will pick the same side that started, maybe obviously at centre back he won't do that. Bo Harder will come out, but yeah, he might be very similar to what started on Sunday. But I think it'd be so difficult to drop Ramsey and Rogers after the performance on Sunday and the running power and they feel like they're getting momentum back. It'd be very difficult for that. And then I feel like Bailey was much more much more like the Old Bailey. I think because the Old Bailey, because you had Garcia overlapping down the right hand side, because you had Marlon buzzing in and around him, he wasn't necessarily isolated, and that helped him because then he had more space to operate in. So I kind of feel that he might do that, but it's
Mm.
all about how Ipswich approach it as well. Because we've talked about these teams that come up from the Championship coming up and playing their way. I know they've had a couple of decent results away from home, but they can't come to Villa Park and be expansive and be open, because look what we did to Tottenham. Yes, we didn't finish, but look what we did. They surely they can't be like that. But then are they going to just put 10 men behind the ball? In which case, a player like an Asensio or someone like that might be important. So yeah, that's going to be interesting how Ipswich approach it as well.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But I expect us to have enough quality if they do park the bus. We've got the ability of people like Rogers, who's running power, and Sensei maybe with his boxer tricks to do something about it. I don't think it was a total slip of the tongue with calling him the Old Bailey, because he has been criminal with his form this season. So yeah, I was trying to get
But
a joke in
bum.
there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't stop talking. It's turning to me.
Sorry,
Um,
mate.
right, mate. So I listen. I know the feeling when I see other people's eyes rolling when I just keep rabbiting on. Anyway, um, but this is almost a situation for Unai where he could basically say, "Listen, Leon, you haven't been great this season, and I back you and I support you, but you've got to produce the goods. I'm going to give you a start against Ipswich. Show me what you got. Jacob, you're doing really well, but you got to get their numbers. You got to be getting the goals and the assists. It's a brilliant situation to be in. It
Mm,
really is. It gives you that sense of almost, if I don't produce the goods, then I know that there's a good guy on the bench who's not just anybody, but like Champions League winners, like multiple international cap holders. They're not over the hill. They're not 35. Not when we were linked with a Luis Suarez at 34 to come on board. Come on for 10, 15 minutes, or a Grant Holt, whatever. We're in a situation now. You've got quality players. Maybe you've dropped off a little bit, but such a point to prove. And
mm,
if you're not quite there against Ipswich after 70 minutes, imagine how you're going to feel if you are Kieran McKenna and you know if you're Jack Clark and Morsey and all these, Liam Delap, and you see Asensio, Rashford, Marlon, coming off the bench, it's going to be. I imagine Spurs are feeling the same. 2-0 down, all of
mm.
a sudden,
Yeah.
those two rock off the bench doing all their tricks and techers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. Let's get into score prediction time. Everyone in the comments, everyone watching, please do get in the comments and let us know your score predictions as well as your choice for particularly your attacking lineup. So get involved in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're literally 5 away from 5,300. On the road to 6K, ultimately heading for 10,000 subscribers. Follow Kevin as well at KTAVFC. Follow me at Villa Park Pod. And like I say, get your score predictions in. So, Kev, before we sign off, what are your thoughts? You've tempted us with a statement win. Are you going to go for that?
Yeah, it's going to be. I can't believe I'm saying this now. It's going to be a clean sheet, which I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm Aston Villa fan. I do know what happens, but I'm going to back the boys, clean sheet, and 3-0 win. That's what I'm going to say.
I
The
like
goal
it.
scorers are going to be Daniel Marlon's going to get his first goal. Jacob Ramsey's going to get another one, and Leon Bailey's going to score as well.
Love it. Love
There you
it.
go.
I'm going to say 4-1. And I'll say Marlon, yes, I agree. Let's go with Morgan, Rogers, and Watkins. And let's say Leon. 4-1 win. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but a good heavy statement win takes us into Wednesday against Liverpool in good fettle. I don't think we can go anywhere higher in the table, can we? But we can certainly close the gap, depending on results. So that'll be important for us. And yeah, gives us some real confidence. 3 home games in a row in the Premier League. Then Palace away, which is always going to be tough, and then Cardiff in the cup. So these next couple of weeks are absolutely huge for Villa. So let's hope we can kick it off with a victory on Saturday. Kev, thank you very much for jumping on. Much appreciated. Guys, thank you for watching. Like I say, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back with match reaction from myself tomorrow, then full match reaction with the boys, fans forum. Also got Charlie coming up, aka Academy AVFC, to talk about all things Academy. And there's been some great stuff going on with the Villa under 18s, under 21s. Youth Cup winners, UEFA Youth League winners. So you don't want to miss that show. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel for that. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.